Hello there, everyone, and welcome to our Connection webinar here, Impacting Retail through Operational Focus. This event is brought to you by Connection, also sponsored by our two partners here, Zebra Technologies and Aruba, which is a Hewlett-Packard Enterprise company. James Hilliard on board, moderator, host for this event, and I've got three guests that I want to introduce to all of you right now. We'll go around the squares here. Tim Van Evenhoven is with us. He is the Director of Vertical Solutions and Business Development, as well as strategic partnerships with Aruba. Digital transformation, that's how I can sum up what his focus is these days. Tim Kane is on board with us, Retail Solutions Industry Consultant for Zebra. He's a trend guy, if I could sum up in a word or two what he does. Watches, interprets those trends that are going on in retail, IoT, e-commerce, analytics, all those things, and then helps customers understand what those are and make sense of all that. So we're glad to have Tim here as well. And then lastly, from our team, Connection, Brian Gallagher on board, Retail Strategy and Business Development Director. Before running our retail group, he was in the retail space, leading national stores operations teams for a good 20 plus years. Again, now it's all about providing those insights to customers in this ever-changing retail world. So that's who you have here. Little instruction for all of you. Bottom of the webcast player, there's a Q&A widget. You can open that up and submit questions to us at any time during the presentation here. Probably 20, 25 minutes or so presentation, and then a Q&A session. So we'll be getting to all those questions a bit later on. The goal, give you some insights, let you know about some of those trends, talk about how we can get you moving forward again in this ever-changing environment. So Brian, I'm going to turn things over to you. We'll start there. Your kind of state of the union for retail these days.
You know, predicting trends as we normally have around who's going to win or who's going to lose from a business standpoint is going to be really, really tough, right? The environment is changing. The consumer's thought process and needs are changing. And so there's going to be a lot of noise out there. And so one of the things that I think is really important as we go through these next sort of 12 to 15 months is to understand there's always winners and losers. Maybe a little harder to predict, but there's some great things coming out of what we've experienced in the past 9 months and going into 2021, which is every retailer, regardless really of what segment you're in, has, to me, a very clear path to how you win, right? And you've got to understand your data and your customer and what's driving the interactions. We know it's got to be a digital platform. Your customers, regardless of demographic, regardless of geography, they are engaging in a digital way. Tim Kane, I know we've had this conversation before. What are you seeing out there when you're talking to customers that I know you talk to all the time?
I'm seeing a lot of what you just talked about, with a few exceptions. One of the things as far as winners and losers, we're starting to see the major retailers coming out and in the analyst calls and in the news talking about the fact that they are never going to go back to pre-COVID, that everything that they're doing, all the planning that they're doing right now is based on moving forward. And I think that's going to be one of the traits of the winners, that they're able to forget the past and really adapt to the new environment. So we're seeing a lot of that. The digital environment is an absolute must. I don't think a retailer is going to be able to survive today without having a strong digital platform that is seamlessly integrated into their brick and mortar platform. So we're seeing a lot of that happening out there as well, where retailers are being, really careful about moving forward and making sure that they're listening to their customers. Safety is a big issue, so anything they can do to assure the safety of the customers and to assure the safety of the associates is something that's been really paramount.
Tim and the Aruba team, what are you seeing and hearing from customers and clients in the retail environment today?
It's really the pandemic and the state of the world has really just accelerated things that were in progress. So a lot of things like, for example, curbside pickup, a lot of retailers had started down that path, but maybe it was just in the early adopter phase and it hadn't reached mainstream. So the fact that the pandemic is really accelerating a lot of those trends, those digital transformation trends, to me, that's very clear. And the ones who had started down that road and who adapted and were nimble were able to adopt those. I think they're the ones who are coming out as the winners.
The path forward for retailers to win is becoming clearer and clearer. And you've got to be all in. Tim Kaine, I think you used the word seamless, right? But much of what's happening is not new. So we haven't had to go out and develop new technologies. We maybe use them a little differently, and the fact that they then have life post-COVID as we go through 2021 into 2022 and beyond. I think the world looks bright for those who decide to accelerate and do it the right way. There's a very clear path forward, and I think we can all win for sure.
Those that tried to do these individual point solutions, I think there was some disillusionment and maybe some false starts. Our customers now are starting to look at this holistically, and it does, to your point, does need to be seamless. And the ones that are taking a more holistic approach to omni-channel or those types of trends are, again, I think are going to be the ones who are going to come out the strongest.
Tim, you made a great point there about the really the importance of the network. When you think about what Zebra does, we capture data at the edge of the enterprise. And we can't capture that data if we don't have an enterprise network that's robust enough to support it. So, the fact that Aruba and Zebra are so tightly coupled and have such a great partnership, you enabling us and the retailers to really run their business.
Yep, no, totally agree. And the other trend that I've been seeing is people had this notion that they just needed to connect everything to the network, and then that was going to magically solve some business use cases. And some people thought, well, IoT, we just need everything to be connected. And I think the reality is really hitting that it's not just connecting and protecting things on the network. It's about analyzing that data and acting on that data to drive business outcomes and really adding that context into the data. And that's where I see the trends now.
I agree. And we're going really heavy into the whole analytics space that you just mentioned. So the idea that you not only capture the data, but you're able to run it through an analytics engine using machine learning and start to give alerts to store managers and store associates of what their next best action should be.
I'd love to hear you talk about machine learning and some of those analytics. Like, what's an example of something sort of real life? Maybe it's even simple that you're seeing retailers do, or the Zebra team is helping retailers do that actually has an impact on their business.
Well, I can give you a couple of examples. One example is, and this is really across all segments, but it was probably most visible across the grocery segment when the pandemic started in the March-April timeframe. Those of us who still went to the store had a hard time finding some of the products that we wanted. So, they were just out of stock. And what we're doing with our analytics is being able to give the grocers quicker visibility into the out of stocks. So they will know in advance of a store associate going to the shelf and looking at the shelf, or in advance of getting a POS report the next day, they'll know that they're either running low or they're out, and they can act much quicker. Now, some people will say, well, that wouldn't help because during the pandemic, even if they acted quicker, they wouldn't be able to get the toilet paper that they needed. But when you get back to more of a normal state like today, the ability for a retailer to be able to optimize the shelf and have the product on the shelf when the customer gets there is so important. And that's one way we're seeing many of our grocers using our products to make sure that their on-shelf availability is as good as it can be.
And I really like that. So us enabling Zebra to do those use cases that they just talked about, they're able to collect some of that data actually comes from the network. A lot of that data comes from barcodes and other scans and RFID and all those other inputs, but there's additional context that can come from the network, like location or identity. So we can contribute to the business outcomes that we just talked about here with Zebra. And then there's another take on ML and AI, and that what Aruba is trying to do with that, we're trying to use ML and AI to make the life of the IT team, their job, easier. So we're using analytics to predict if there could be an issue with the network. Why is the transfer rate in the store in a particular city? Why is it 10% slower than it was last week? Using analytics, or why is the store across town getting better performance than this other store? So using the network analytics to make the IT team's job easier is another way that you can apply ML and AI to retail.
And Tim, the analytics that Aruba is doing today to make sure the network is robust, to make sure it's up, is going to become even more important, because we're just at the beginning of this digital age, and we're going to be pumping more and more information through that network, whether it be video analytics, whether it be data analytics, whether it be RFID, and any number of IoT sensors out there. So for you to have that capability and ability to alert the customers and the retailers about the health of that network is really, really good.
Hey guys, love where this is going so far, the conversation that we're having. Folks, I just want to jump in here real quickly and invite you to continue to be part of the conversation. I'm seeing some good questions come into the queue here, so we're going to be getting to those in a bit later on. But just a reminder, use the Q&A widget and get your questions in. As we get back into conversation here, Brian, again, we're starting to focus on the employees here. We want to make them smarter. Your observations, your conversations, are the employees engaged? Are they enthusiastic about the changes that they're seeing brought on by, again, new technologies, new direction by some of these retailers?
We've started to see, over the last 24 months or so in retail, and is really accelerating now, which is retailers are finally, to me, deeply listening to what the employees want. And the great thing about what technology can do is it can eliminate all the mundane tasks, right? It can get a cleaner playing field for the employees to feel like they're a meaningful, productive part of the business. And I know if I was an employee, right, we all want to feel like we're doing meaningful work. So to me, that's one of the huge wins. And it's interesting, Tim, I know you guys both have some perspective specifically around the customer. Some of the technologies that I know of around Workforce Connect and others. Maybe one of you guys want to jump in and talk about what you guys are seeing from the employee and where they're getting excited?
Yeah, Workforce Connect, it enables the associates to communicate with each other. So, and we want that communication to be as high a quality as possible. So that's why when Aruba recognizes that there's Workforce Connect traffic, or two associates are trying to communicate over Workforce Connect, we see that on the network, and then we can prioritize that so that they have the best possible experience. Maybe prioritize that over a file download or other transfer that isn't as sensitive. So it's little things like that where the customer, they're able to provide a better customer experience because the associates are having the best possible experience themselves.
Yeah, not only is the solution cool, right, Tim? The ability to do it where you're seeing information. And I know some of the mobile devices and things that are supporting these platforms from the Zebra side really get employees excited.
Yeah, what we're seeing on the Zebra side is that voice is becoming more and more important, and Workforce Connect that Tim just mentioned. It's nice to have him mention it because it's a Zebra product, but it's so really important to have a network to run it on. And as Tim mentioned, the fact that the Aruba network gives priority to voice so that you can really make sure that it's efficient and it's working properly. The store associates in today's environment, with social distancing and productivity becoming more and more important, and safety being the paramount importance, when you have a device and you're able to do voice over that device, it really covers all three of those points. You can social distance with voice. You can be more productive with voice because you don't have to walk across the store to find another associate to have them do something. And you can provide a really safe environment. So we are seeing a tremendous interest in Workforce Connect across all segments of retail, where people realize that the power of voice is really important. The other thing that's nice is the device that it runs on is a device that does text applications and digital applications as well as voice. It also does video. And it's a touchscreen device, which everybody now has a cell phone, so everybody's used to having a touchscreen interface. And it allows you to give your associates something that, first of all, they can learn very easily on because, as I said, they all have cell phones, so they can use the touchscreen very easily. And it's almost intuitive the way you use the device. So, for us, we're excited about it and think that it's going to be a tremendous benefit to the associates.
Well, and having that all in one device too, not the old days when the store associates had a walkie-talkie on their hip and then they had a barcode scanner in their other pocket. Having that one device, with that singular device, I can scan barcodes, I can take inventory, I can check inventory, I can text an associate, I can talk to an associate. It's all that consolidation of having that all, it's really in the palm of the hand of the associate, really empowering the associate. That's one of the ways I look at it.
I think that's a great way to look at it. And it's amazing when you think back, it wasn't that long ago where people have multiple devices. And we still do have some customers out there where they have the walkie-talkie, they have the scanner, they have some sort of a mobile terminal or a tablet, but they are quickly migrating to a single device that can do multiple applications.
The concept of having intuitive devices, right, is always important. We know what the turnover rates are in retail. You cannot fight it as much as we'd like to. So having something intuitive does a couple of things, right? Your training and your uptime to expert status is that much faster, and we all know what that is worth. But you also get an employee who's that much more engaged, and we know the data will tell us that an engaged employee stays in a retail location 2 to 3 times longer than a disengaged employee who maybe just stumbled in for a job. But if they find something they're comfortable working with, they stay. And there's a lot that goes into that, but certainly an intuitive, optimized device and platform fall right into that. I know the Aruba team has a term out there called, I think you guys refer to it as hyper aware, or the hyper aware store. Is that something that plays into this connectivity and optimizing this platform? Where's that come from? Can you share a little bit about that?
If you're giving those associates all the tools they need to do their job, I think you're also going to be able to retain those associates. There's a lot of pressure to fulfill these online orders quickly and accurately. And if you're giving them the right tools to make them successful, I think their job satisfaction will be much higher, and the chance for them to stay would be much higher. So getting back to the hyper awareness aspect, from Aruba's point of view, like I mentioned earlier, people were just trying to connect things to the network. And this concept of hyper awareness is really taking that to the next level, from just connect and protect to using that data to analyze and act, but allowing the infrastructure to provide that additional context. So now you have all the data collected at the edge, along with the context that the network adds, and that really makes your network hyper aware.
It's interesting. Anytime we can use data at the edge, right, we know that we can impact the customer and the employee equally that much faster versus the old days of sending data back and forth. So having a network that's smart enough to know what can actually have an impact on the business, let's activate that right away. And then having the Zebra team with those devices to actually create and finalize a solution there becomes a pretty powerful weapon. And I know that Zebra and Aruba have been doing a lot of work in retail together. Can one of you guys maybe share a little insight on what some of the specifics are that you guys are building and taking to market together?
Yeah, together at the edge, Aruba and Zebra have done a lot around innovation. Some of it is around just ensuring security of those devices, ensuring connectivity of those devices. But then there's been some joint integrations that we've done, some joint development, some new location standards have come out just recently. 802.11mc is a new way for a wireless network infrastructure to locate an IoT device. And Aruba and Zebra worked very closely together to bring that to market so that an Aruba infrastructure can locate a Zebra device using this new technology, which again provides that additional context to the network data. I think it's just allowing all these Zebra devices and IoT devices on the network to be connected. So everything from point of sale systems, barcode scanners, we talked about Zebra mobile computers, check stand registers, self-shopping devices, so people can do self-shopping and put the products in their cart and then not have to recheck out and empty their bag again or empty their cart again when the checkout comes. There's a number of different solutions that Aruba and Zebra have been working on together.
I think it goes back, one of the connection philosophies, right, is to make sure that we've actually looked at the full solution. Tim Kaine, I think you mentioned not doing things one-off, right, not doing things as a project, but looking at them holistically. Yeah, I mean, that's where, these types of partnerships to me and bringing that back within Connection gets me really excited because we can sit down with the retailers, talk about what are their pain points, what are we trying to accomplish, really understand their business, and between a Zebra, Aruba connection type of relationship, really outline where are we today, what are the pain points, where do we want to be tomorrow, and develop full solutions instead of sort of doing projects and then figuring out how we patch them together. And the Zebra team, Tim, you're meeting with retailers all the time. Is that something you're seeing from retailers, that they're looking at their business from a whole solution standpoint?
Yes, and that's a great point that you made. The fact that the three companies here, Zebra, Aruba, and Connection, are working together to really deliver solutions to the retailers. And sometimes I think it's overlooked and oversimplified. The reality is that things are moving today faster than they ever have before. The complexity of the technology is higher than it's ever been before. And it's really hard to get the right people that you need in your company if you want to do it by yourself. So I'm seeing more and more collaboration. I'm seeing more and more companies getting together, like I just mentioned, the three of us, to try to figure out what strengths we bring to the table that can benefit the retailer and obviously benefit ourselves, because we have to stay in business so that we can continue to grow and develop. But the reality is that with the world changing as quickly as it is, and I don't see the change slowing down, retailers are looking for partners more than they ever have in the past.
Yeah, and I think we've long said that it's a good idea to take a partner. To me, it's now a must-have. And why would you not want to sit down with people who work on these technologies every single day? Sit down with people who meet with dozens, if not hundreds, of other retailers and understand what's real, what's not, what's coming, when's it coming. Why would you not take advantage of that?
And even the really large retailers that are out there, and we all know who they are, they're doing a lot of their own development, but they're also engaging with more partners than they ever have in the past.
And I think we need to remember, too, that digital transformation isn't an event. It's a journey. And it doesn't just happen at once. So you don't, the saying, boiling the ocean, I mean, you're not going to deliver all these new digital transformation experiences all on day one. So that's why I like the idea of really investing in an extensible platform, an extensible infrastructure, and things like the handheld devices where you can add new apps over time. I think when you lay out that transformation journey, what do you want to do on day one? What about day 100? What about day 200, day 300? And really lay it out that way. But again, if you build it on that solid foundation, you can just keep adding new applications. I mean, one example that comes to mind is contact tracing. I didn't know what contact tracing was a year ago, and now we've got a dozen partners that are implemented contact tracing solutions. And it really comes down to, but if you have that extensible infrastructure, then you can go to a company like Zebra and say, we'd like to deploy contact tracing. Can you help me? And the answer can be yes, as opposed to an approach with all these point solutions. The answer probably would have been no.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And those partners, I mean, that's why I love getting together with guys like you, Tim and Tim, yeah, where the partnership isn't just thinking about how can I use a piece of technology. It's why would I use it? How do we enable it? And what impact can it have on the business? That's the cool thing about what we all get to do every day. And it's the thing that keeps me excited and gives me true hope for what retail is going to look like for years to come.
Well, guys, speaking of the journey that we've been taking today on this webinar, we've covered a lot of ground. The next part of our journey today is the Q&A session that I alluded to. So we are going to be shifting gears right now and get into that Q&A session. For the audience, you do nothing. You just stay right there. For the four of us, we need to get off of the video onto a secondary audio channel and then conduct that Q&A. So while we make that change, you go ahead. If you have another burning question you want to get in, use the Q&A widget, type that question in. We'll make the jump to the Q&A and be right back.